Ready? Okay. You would join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Richard?
Here.
Kelsey? Here. Merle? Here. Heidi? Here. Here. And Cher's here. So we have a full suite. I would like to welcome everybody. Thanks for coming and taking time out of your busy schedule to be here, so. Everybody had a chance to look over the agenda. Entertain a motion if to accept as presented.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as presented. I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? This is a call for discussion, but been unanimous, that'll work. Moving along to public comments, I actually have one public comment tonight, so if we can have Marissa come forward.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm gonna give it to you guys to pass around.
Okay.
My printer messed up, so I have one copy. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm Marisa Harriman. I have one child remaining in North Marion. And I am here to talk to you about the bus and the lateness that it has been at my house. The 2 weeks ago, so the week before Thanksgiving, or the week after Thanksgiving, it was really cold temperatures in the low 20s in the morning, and the bus was 10 to 15 minutes late. They're required to be out there 5 minutes before that. And so he was standing out in the cold for 20 minutes. I work from home, but I'm not able to take him every day. I have like phone calls that come in, I work an hour later. There was one day I was able to take him, but he stood out there for 20 minutes. The next week it was pouring down rain, same thing. I assumed that the 20 minutes the week before was low temperatures, you have to get the buses ready. And I thought it would be, the bus driver would be on time the following week, they weren't, and it just continues. There is an awesome Parent View app that First Student offers. They said that the district has to pay for it. I don't know how much that is. I didn't get into it anymore. But I think it would be great for us to be able to track the bus so that we can decide when to send our students out rather than them wait out there for 20 minutes. And our kids are preparing for class. We don't live in like Michigan where they prepare to be outside and they wear gloves and the right attire for that. So I would just like you guys to maybe look into it and hopefully move forward with purchasing it. Thank you guys.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Here then we'll move along our agenda. We have a couple of items. First up is kind of a highlight for the high school and middle school choirs and bands. So I'm gonna kind of pick on principals. If they want to give us a little update, it would be much appreciated.
I'll let Ian go first.
Okay.
Which, I had a commitment where I had to make it, but I know that Des was there.
Was there, and it was a wonderful music program. I was having a middle schooler, it was inspiring to recognize where they get to go and how that program really builds on itself. And especially, I will say special shout out to Ms. Vaughn, the band director, because she's really been rebuilding that program. So it was fantastic. Very
And
good.
last week on Tuesday evening was the fall concert for the middle school, and we had 3 bands and 2 choirs. And it was my first middle school concert since my kids were in middle school. it was wonderful, and the joy of music, watching those kids. I mean, many of that beginning band had not picked up an instrument before this fall, and it was a joy to watch. And they were cheering each other on, and there's an award that gets given out. It was lovely, and I was it was packed. And that part also makes me so glad, because walking in middle school, that's how you prepare to have a larger, more robust band program at high school. You need that middle school in there, and so I felt some happiness to see that many kids in that program.
I would like to add that last week choir did go around to the other schools to sing. And then ended up back by the office at the high school to sing to the office staff. And it was just a nice touch that we're able to do that with all the schools.
It sounded like angels.
Great, well, kudos to your music departments. Please extend our thanks, and that is really impressive, so.
Yeah, our music programs have had some of the greatest challenges coming back from the pandemic. They were some of the programs that were most restricted during the pandemic, because the need to be together, the need to like sing together, and the restrictions that were going along with that throughout the pandemic. And so our directors have really risen to the challenge of building those music programs back again and getting kids involved. And, you know, aside from our local community, they have been out in the larger community. I think, Crystal, I think you experienced their presence at the tree lighting in
Yes, I
Hubbard.
did. It was fantastic. It was
Those things.
really-
And we know that they've also been on the road at some fairs and festivals and performing with others around the state, and even in Washington, I think in Vancouver. So you know, they're really moving back into those days where we have a robust music program. So again, thanks to the leadership of our directors.
Yeah, it is great.
We are also gonna have Ben Bonzer, Coach Bonzer, for the soccer team, the girls soccer team here. However, he is in the middle of a basketball game, I think. So we're gonna take him as he's available to be here. So we're not forgetting him, but he'll, as soon as he can be here, we'll fit him in, so. All right, to B, we have to acknowledge extended overnight field trips. This is just an acknowledgement by the board, so December 8th, 9th, in North Bend for the high school wrestling tournament. The 15th, 16th in Sisters, again for the wrestling tournament, and January 11th through the 14th of 24 in Redmond for another tournament. They're gonna be busy.
Yes, they are busy coming here. Not much food though.
ODE, state education and OSBA.
I'll add those to my superintendent report.
Okay, so we'll dispense with those and make sure that they get included. Next up is our ASB leadership team, and they're reporting Kathleen Caden.
We have Peter here instead. Kaden
All
is
right.
on vacation. Okay, so good evening, everyone. Here is our club report that ASB does monthly, and we're gonna start talking about ASB. So this past month, we have been focusing on raising money for Holiday Hope. That goes towards Mr. Polias for him to purchase food and gifts for local families in our district this holiday season. And then we've had a minute to minute, a hot cocoa fundraiser, and student teacher dares that will be performed at an assembly in January. That's January 12th, if anyone is interested in that. It's gonna be combined with our student of the term assembly. Coming up, we are planning on that same assembly and a winter formal dance that will be on January 27th. And the theme is gonna be Northern Lights.
Okay, and for Key Club, they have been active in helping with the following events: Love Santa, Bricks for North Marion, selling candy grams to raise funds for Holiday Hope, campus cleanups, cars for teachers and retirement homes, and helping the holiday store.
And then for FBLA, they're in the process of recruiting new members for the Regional Skills Conference that will take place this January later, I believe on the 27th as well. And they're continuing to buy, I think it's they said bi-weekly, but it might be bi-monthly, meetings, at the primary school for the big brother, big sister. So it's really fun to see everyone go over and interact with their littles. And then FBLA is selling concessions at the high school basketball game, this Wednesday to help raise money for the regional skills conference.
And for FFA, the club has recently had their freshman night, which was a success. Tonight they have their holiday party with lots of fun things such as hot cocoa, a hot cocoa bar, a movie, a gingerbread building, and a gingerbread building contest.
For Metra's Folk Loco group danced at the Posadas at the primary school and helped organize games afterwards. And then they're doing another volunteering babysitting night for the migrant meeting that will be in December.
And for NHS, they will be starting a homework help lab, kind of like tutoring. We still don't have a better name. In January, on Mondays during advisory, they will start focusing on freshmen to help start their term strong, and this will continue throughout the year. They have a second blood drive scheduled for February the 8th, and hope to increase our total donations, so they're already signing up donors.
And then for Skills USA, the club is meeting for practices starting in January. They have been discussing which events each club member will be participating in, so we can be ready for January.
Robotics, the Vault Masters traveled to West Salem on December 2nd. All three teams made it through the qualifications and into the tournament. Teams A and Y joined forces, but were knocked out after the first round of the 16. Team X made it all the way to the semifinals, so their new design was a success. Their goal for the next time is to do better on the skills challenge portion of the tournament. The next tournament is on January 13th at Sandy, followed up with Willamette and Eugene on the 27th.
For NAHS, they had a meeting with PTO Tuesday, at their monthly meeting to review the new sticker ideas. It was always really fun. They're also coordinating with the intermediate school for a photo project with student and staff. And the chapter will keep you posted when the mural is completed.
For yearbook, they're looking for yearbooks from 1973, 1962, and 1984. They just might have it, and this winter yearbook will be focusing on getting those books out to out of our stores into the hands of alumni, and they're open to ideas and help from community members.
For Awesome, they're still working on mental health and how they can help out our student body and staff.
For drama, they haven't had a lot of meetings due to the fact we don't have a director. So they don't know if they will be able to perform a show until they get one. They've had very few meetings because they have limited hours, but they're still alive and well.
So we have some good updates on prom. So they're hosting weekly meetings after Tuesday at school, and they're coming up with good ways to fundraise. But they had a wonderful donation of $500 recently from the parent group, so that really helped to kickstart them. And prom is set for May 18th. And then stay tuned because they have a lot of fundraisers coming up. And the first being babysitting local parents on December 16th. So that is this Saturday. And that's from 12 to 4.
And for the PTO, they have been busy organizing the holiday store for K-8 students in our district. A few parents, teachers, and students helped on Friday to get it all set up in the middle of school by loading and unloading a truck of many donations and arranging the items. Kids get to come and pick out the presents and get them wrapped for their loved ones this week.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Sounds like it's gonna be really busy.
Lots of good stuff. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Have a great night.
Very nice. Well done.
All right, next up, we have UNM leadership team. turn it over to Gianna.
I know, sorry for the hat, it was hat day. Very festive today, and of course the sweater. It's really short, just because it's been a busy time of year. Things are going well, the summit that we went to, which I saw Heidi was there, and I saw Merle, I don't know if anyone else was there, I just didn't see you. The summit was really fun and successful for a lot of us, we learned, everybody had a takeaway. Everybody really loved the opportunity to get professionally trained in an area that they chose. And then we had a bunch of teachers provide training, which was really exciting. So like I did a Google training, and then Sherry Moran did a using AI and technology. There's a lot more to like talk about. Those are just the two that stand out to me. So Summit was awesome. It's such a good foundation for what's to come in the future. So thanks to Des for that. That's huge, yeah. And then at the middle school, they just received a grant for OSLA, which stands for, because I had to ask. Oh, no, wait, I forgot Oregon's Systems of Literacy Language Arts. It's to help with literacy. So it's $500 grant that they earned. So do you know more?
I know that they're buying graphic novels with it for all Quiet on the Western Front, and it just came through this weekend, I think.
Yeah, so our VP Matt was really excited to share that with me. Other than that, there's not really a lot of updates. I gave you guys a card, and then also happy holidays. We're very excited to be going into a break. Hopefully it snows on the mountain. Any questions for me?
I don't think so, thank you. We would just like, as a board, to extend you guys thanks, and hope you guys have a great winter break and some much needed time off. So.
Appreciate it.
Next up is 2F. We do still have 3 budget committee positions in vacancy. And so I just wanted to remind folks to, if you know of somebody, or if you yourself want to serve, it's really important. It's actually statute mandated that we convene that, and that we have another set of eyes on the budget every year. And so it's not the most glamorous work, but it is work that needs to be done, and it keeps our ship financially afloat. So
It's appropriate to, endorse that while our auditors are here.
All right, 2G, we have we've been in the process of working through a board appointment for a new position. What's that?
Kelsey had a comment.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
There's 2 positions open on the budget.
There's actually 3, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, Linda could tell me, but there's 3. So yes, we definitely have need, and we'll leave it open for a while. At some point, they need to uptrain just a little bit in order to be able to serve, but
And is that updated on the website that it's open? I don't know.
It's still on the website.
Okay.
yeah, and applications would be there. It's an application. It's essentially just an appointment.
That's 3 of what? 3 of how many?
7.
3 of 7.
Yeah.
Is there like a minimum number we need to meet? Like a,
We need to have 8 people to vote, because between the 2, when we're doing the budget, there's 7 and 7. 8.
okay,
Yeah, generally it consists of on the outside, 3 to 4 meetings, but more likely 2 to 3. Yeah, so it's not a huge, commitment each year, but it's a springtime thing. It's something so that Linda can build the budget and present that, and then have it presented and still voted on by the board. But the input of the budget committee is important, so it's another set of eyes on things.
It's important to have that citizens, view of the budget committee on the board.
Yeah. Any other questions, sir?
What is the total number on the board?
So 7 on the budget committee. We have 3 open, but as a committee, we meet jointly. So we can exist with less, but more, as in any situation, the more sets of eyes, the better, I think. Especially when it represents, budgetary matters.
so 7 budget committee
Seven
members,
seven
7
board members,
Seven budget.
but you really need another one. You said 8?
Well,
Yeah.
no, we need a total of 8 people to vote on the budget and to pass it.
Okay.
Because we have a total of 14, the possibility of 14.
You generally have 14 on the budget committee,
On
the
the
board
committee.
makes up 7 of those spots, and then
But
7 citizens.
it requires 8 yes
Yeah.
votes. to
A minimum
pass
of
the
8
budget.
to, yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
All right, moving along, have been in the process of going through an appointment process to fill the vacancy that we have on the board. Thanks to Crystal for doing a bunch of legwork on that. I appreciate the help. I'll give a little bit of background. So we've got 3 candidates. We've done the legwork on going through their references. They've provided an application. This part of the process will be a 3 to 5 minute presentation by them, by each of them to the board. With why are you interested in serving on the North Marine School Board of Directors? What strengths, qualifications, and or experiences would you bring to add to the leadership team? That's sort of the focus of what we want on out of that. Nothing super formal, but we would just like to hear from you. There, it is time limited. Do you mind doing?
Yeah.
So at 4.5 minutes, she'll give you a signal if you need to cut it off. If you don't go to 4.5 minutes, no problem. So, if the candidates are ready, I'll go ahead and go ahead.
I think we were gonna go ahead and wait till we come to the action items to actually.
Oh,
to actually
so this is
do the appointment. That was just the announcement that'll be, of the process.
Oh, okay, so that's 5B, sorry, my bad. All right, well, moving along, so that's the process we'll go through. Item number 3 is our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? For Richard, but
Can you give
I'm
it-
assuming that was want to give him an opportunity. Did you have a vote, Richard, on that, yea or nay?
Yes, I said aye. Thank you.
Sorry, I did not hear you. Thank you, though. That motion carries. Item number 4, business and budget appropriations. Do you have stuff you want to present besides just for audit?
All of the, regular general fund revenue and expense spreadsheets are there. If you guys have questions, you can ask me. But I'd rather spend the time on the audit.
So with that, we'll move on to having Dan Miley come forward and he can present our financial statements and finalized audit.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
I'm Dan Miley, audit partner with TKW, formerly known as Pella and Warwick, but TKW is just a lot easier to say. So yes, we were able to finalize these today. Thank you, Linda, for keeping this. The fund of new accounting standards, which we'll get into. In the bound copy, I'll just do a high level overview. If you have any questions, feel free to stop me at any time. So we will first start with page 1, first paragraph, or I guess first section, second paragraph. We have an unmodified opinion. This is your clean opinion. This is what you want. So congratulations. It goes on a lot more detail of responsibilities and about all the different pieces of the puzzle that's included in here and what we actually opine on and how they relate. All like that. Moving on, the next section is the management discussion and analysis. We always take this time to suggest and recommend that you read this. This is a short condensed version of the 65 pages. It has comparative information in there. And not only that, it also gives you some of the reason of why some things might have changed. So there's a lot of good information in there that gives an overview of the district's financial statements. Next, we'll go to page 10. The statement of net position. There's a couple new things on what we would call traditionally a balance sheet in the commercial world, but for government, it's the statement of net position here. There is leases, so a new lease standard was implemented last year by the district, but there was no leases to record. No material leases anyways, that qualified. But this year, the district entered into a new lease, so there's now a liability that represents the present value of that contract that you signed for that space. And that's the lease payable that you see there. Hidden in capital assets is the offsetting right to use asset. Just to get on books, it's trying to replicate if you had gone out and bought that equipment, what it would have been. So it's trying to maintain both sides of that transaction, the debt and the asset. Then new this year, Governmental Accounting Standards Board Statement 96 is subscription-based IT arrangements, otherwise known as SPIDAs or just plain subscriptions. So similar to leases, when you sign a contract for software that you don't actually own, but it gives you the right to use that software, we're going to record a liability at the present value of the payments, plus an asset that represents that right to use. That again, both of those will get amortized, so expensed out over the life of that. So if the contract's 5 years, you'll recognize 1/5 of that expense every year. Moving on, if you really want to go in depth on page 21 and 22, there is in the significant accounting policies, the summary, there's a little bit more on how those numbers are calculated and what we consider and all the fun in there. On page 26, just to call it out, there's your lease assets and your subscription assets. And on page 28, or I guess 27 through 29, are your lease and subscription liabilities. I just call those out because they're new, it's different. You might want to take a look at it. There's no more questions about that. We're going to move on to page 54, so all the way back to our next report, so that we provide, and that's the independent auditors report that we give to be in accordance with governmental auditing standards. So good news, we're not aware of any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the district's internal controls. Good job. And then the next one is a report over compliance required by uniform guidance. This is your federal awards, so your single audit. Moving to page 59 is your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. This year, it was about 1.9 million. That's down. Last year was about 2.6 million. So a little bit less. I think a lot of that was ESSER, just.
We'll bump it back up.
So it really, yeah, it's just dependent on the federal grants that the district receives and expends. So these are the expenditures of those grants. On page 61, you have a sort of a summary of all of our audit results, unmodified. It also has the major program this this year was a child nutrition cluster, so that's your school lunch program. And other related programs to that. That award represents about 44% of your federal awards this year. So we audited a good chunk of your dollars. Another good thing on page 63 is that the finding from last year was resolved. So we took another look at that just to make sure that the district implemented what they said that they were going to implement. And it all looked good, so. And then the last report here is, the report in accordance with, Oregon State, regulations. This is your Oregon minimum standards. If you notice in there, there is that budget line that we look at. On page 65, so the last page, we did note that there was several, over expenditures, so these are expenditures in excess of appropriations. Most of these were caused by the implementation of the new GASB standard. It changed how things were accounted for, so it pushed dollars into different categories. So when you pay the lease and subscription liabilities, it's actually coming out as debt service, not as instruction or support services. So the character of it changed. And this is mainly just being driven by accounting rules. So,
Do you comment about that in the report, that explanation as to why?
no, we do not. We just say to the Secretary of State that, yes, there was these expenditures out there, and if they have any questions, they'll ask. And
And it's not a finding, it isn't, like something that I would have to explain to everyone else after I send this out to the state or to the feds or anything.
Do they often ask?
in my experience, no. The Secretary of State has asked about some other stuff. We get calls every once in a while. Part of the joys of being an Oregon municipal auditor is that the Secretary of State is one of our regulators. So they will come by and every once in a while do desk reviews of what we do or come look at our files. But, or they'll just call if they have questions, either the district or us. So, the next document that you have there is, just stapled, and this is a letter from us, PKW, to the board. Once again, it goes over some responsibilities, talks about some other communications that we had. Talks about that, GASB statement number 96 was implemented. It also goes over some estimates that as a board, you may want to keep an eye on, as estimates provide an opportunity for management bias. Not that we've seen anything, but that's one way that the board can oversee the finances of the district, is just making sure those estimates seem reasonable. So those include allowance for doubtful accounts, depreciation, the lease and subscriptions that I discussed, net pension liability, and other post-employment benefits. So those are just sort of the big things that are estimates within these financial statements. No material audit adjustments. We're not aware of any uncorrected misstatements in there, so that's also another good thing. Then it references the reports that we just gone over. The next section is in there to stress the importance of independence and the responsibilities of that TKW holds to maintain independence, and also the district. We will do our best to maintain our independence of the district, but you guys will also have to tell us if you enter into some transactions that we're not aware of. We're not aware of any other consultations with other accountants, and then the list has gotten shorter, but there's 3 more items of fund that will be coming in the future years. New accounting standards. So any questions on any of that? And then if you feel free at any time, either here or later, that you can reach out to me or TKW, and We'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have. We work very closely with Linda and we thank her for all of her hard work to help us get to this point, but we do work for the board. So, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
We appreciate it, thanks, I know that, that our companies are doing audits, are pretty swamped, with work this year and at this time, and I know that your team is working really hard even over the weekend, with Linda over the weekend to try to, and you know, and you got the report over the weekend, so we really appreciate, you making that happen. You've made Linda very happy.
It's a team effort and it definitely helps when everybody's moving in the right direction.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for the work and much appreciated.
Thank you.
Congratulations on another stellar year.
Yes, absolutely. It's very fitting for this.
So moving down our agenda, that brings us to 5A, which is to approve the report that he just brought forward for ending June 30th, 2023.
I'll make a motion that we approve the audit report, fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving this report, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. 5B, did Linda step out? Did she want to speak to this revised resolution?
You wanna just skip over it real quick?
Sure, we can come back to it.
We don't have applicants.
We don't have applicants yet, so we're not gonna be appointing a budget committee, any other budget committee members this evening, so. Yeah, let's move on with 5D then, which will be where I had it before, but was too quick to the punchline, so. So given those rules, is the board ready to move forward and hear presentations from the three candidates? Okay, probably in no particular order, why don't we have Melanie come up?
Hi, everybody. I act a little nervous. I haven't spoken in front of real people for a long time, so I apologize. And it's probably not gonna be 3 minutes, so. But hi, I'm Melanie Holbert. I have 2 children that attend North Marion and they've had their entire life. One, since kindergarten or preschool, all the way through, they're in 5th and 6th grade now. I myself, as Crystal knows, attended North Marion from kindergarten through 12th grade, and both my sister and I graduated from here. My mom served on the school board for 24 years, and by watching her do it, I learned, all the things that she was trying to make a difference in, and then also the challenges that you guys all face, like from the community and different people and all the fighting and all that. So that's what I want to do as well. I want to bring the community together to support everyone, the students and the teachers, and try to make a difference and make this school better if it needs to be better. But I had a great experience at North Marion. And I think communication is a large piece of being successful. And I feel like I've been working in the finance industry for over 27 years and, leading multiple projects as well as working with many people. It taught me how to accomplish our overall goals and deliver that end product. I consider myself open-minded and willing to listen to everybody and to hear each other's opinions in order to make the best decision and to come together as a group to actually make that right decision for everybody. So it'll benefit students and teachers. There's a reason I moved back to Hubbard. I live in Hubbard, but there's a reason I moved back and want my kids to go here is because I had a great time. I like North Marion, so I don't know, that's about it. It's short and sweet.
Well, thank you for your willingness to serve. Much appreciate you coming in and sharing that with us. So.
Every time I try to read this myself or my kids, I'll choke up, I'm like. Thank you.
You bet, thank you. All right, let's go ahead and have Bill come up.
I took my kids and used my cell phone instead. Hi, thanks to the board for allowing me to speak today. As you know, I've been on the board for about a decade. And I'm still working and willing to serve on for the benefit of North Marion School District. We have still engagement. I'm still engaged with a lot of schools here, working with Rafael Pelez on raising money for food and for needy families, and I've just collected another box of shirts and coats for them to hand out to people. So still engaged with FBLA as well. Did their first meeting and gave the presentation for their first FBLA meeting to help them raise money and student engagement there. And most important from what I do is I believe strongly in where the strategic plan that we worked on for the last 3 years and how that is going and what it meant to put that all together, the type of engagement that we did with community students and district leaders to put that together. And that plan to me is still a guiding light in what I believe in for the school is the way to go. So with that said, still involved in state level work, working with ODE on the funding formula and working with basically activities at the legislature coming up for what they're working on for statewide education funding. That activity and work still continues for me. I am still the OEB rep for the healthcare, basically educator benefits, and focus a lot on mental health. And our focus right now is a program I started there that we call Shift Left, which is working with the healthcare providers and the health insurance plans to adopt more formulated insurance coverage that allows you to identify your illnesses earlier in the process to not just to help the patient, but also reduce costs, which then lowers your monthly premiums. And we're working on plans to do that. So that's all for all educators in the state that participate, which I think is every district but 2. Attended the OSBA conference, the public open parts that I could attend. So we were at the conference, still engaged with a lot of the leadership at OSBA and the things that are going on there, attended their board meetings with some of the stuff. And I'm sure some of you have heard some of the things going on at OSBA or heard rumors about them. They are somewhat true, and I'm keeping in touch with all that and just talking with people at the leadership there to help them engage in a more peaceful fashion. I'll leave it at that. But going to those conferences and things, still staying engaged. The last thing that happened to me while I was stepped off here is governor nominated me to get on the board of aviation to focus on bringing more aviation education to high schools. And we're doing that in Salem Kaiser and a few districts around, including Southern Oregon, where the aviation programs are about resiliency and wildfire work and getting more engagement with younger people and how we do that, including drone technology and determining how to address a fire after it's up and running, things like that. So it's still heavily engaged in public education. I still believe public education is the solution to all of our problems we're having here in Oregon, be it mental health, be it drug crisis, be it homelessness. The short-term solutions, of course, abound in all the people's different ideas, but in all cases, the long-term solution is a great public education system, and that's what we need to drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your willingness to serve again. I appreciate it. All right, next up is Jenny.
Hi. I'm Jenny Scott. You guys know me because I'm always here. First I have to know, did we win the basketball game?
Yes.
Yes. So in my professional career, I'm a senior analyst in information systems, and I have a background
managing multi-million-dollar contracts from Alaska to Texas, budgeting and finance and data analysis. Within that role, I ensure that contract obligations are met and I terminate those contracts that are no longer serving their purpose. My soft skills of being an active listener, effective communicator, and focused problem solver would be well applied as a school board director. I've been attending the meetings for almost every meeting for the past 2 years. I regularly read the board policies, and who else has read all of Apple's terms and conditions? Just me. What I'm really trying to get at is that I've become familiar with the school's strategic and integrated plans. I know this will allow me to quickly become a contributing member. And after attending the board director's retreat, I was excited about all the work that's ahead of the school board, knowing that after all of you guys shared what you're excited about for this year, is like, I share, you know, a little bit of that from Kelsey, you know, just learning and growing as a new board member, Merle being excited about the legislative process, Heidi's like wanting to have clear and simple goals, Crystal metrics, I echo that. Glenn, you want to do, you make North Marion a great environment for the kids. So I really appreciate all the work that's already been done, and I know how much more work has to be done, and I absolutely want to be a part of this team. I have a strong passion to help make a difference, and I'm ready to make the switch from listener and avid note taker to sitting next to you guys and being a part of North Marion community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your willingness to serve. Alrighty, so that completes sort of, thank you, the I guess quasi interview. I will go ahead and
I don't know, we might want to state that we did, all the applicants did submit questions, answers to questions, so
Yes.
we do have that also.
Yeah, there was more to it. I mean, this isn't just the only process part of it. There's obviously more pieces to the process, and so yeah.
anyway, I would go ahead and open it up for nominations. Go ahead.
I would like to make a nomination and motion to appoint Jenny Scott to position number 6.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other nominations? Again, any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. I'm gonna do this by roll call, so this will be an affirmative vote.
And I just make sure Richard's muted.
Richard, did you have anything to add? Sorry.
No, I didn't. Thank you.
Okay, I am gonna do a roll call vote for this one, though. Just probably for Diane, so she can keep track of things. All right, so an affirmative vote will be to appoint Jenny Scott to the open position, position number 6, for the remainder, actually for that term, up to 2 years, is that correct?
2025.
Okay. All right, Kelsey.
Aye.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay. Merle.
Yay.
Heidi.
Yay.
Crystal.
Yay.
Richard.
Yay.
And chair votes yay. So with that, congratulations.
Thank you.
If you want to come up, I'll do your oath of office. Do I do it or do you do it? Can I do it?
You do it.
Is it printed on the?
Yeah, let me-
It's in the agenda.
All right, right hands up.
I, Jenny Scott,
I, Jenny Scott,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
and the laws thereof,
and the laws thereof,
and the policies
and the policies
of the North Marion School
of the
District
North Marion School District
during my term.
during my term.
I will faithfully and impartially
I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the responsibilities
discharge the responsibilities
of office of school board member to the best of my ability.
of office of school board member to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome
you.
aboard.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Jenny, we'll have you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Have a seat.
Don't just sit in the back anymore.
Alrighty, I think we're gonna backtrack, if that's okay with everybody. We have our soccer girls head coach here.
And if I could, I just wanna thank, Bill and Melanie again, thanks for your interest and, and your effort in making applications and your excellent presentation. And, and also too, we do have budget committee positions. It's often a nice way to get involved, Bill, and, it's a great experience and you do get to work with that team, so, so I would, encourage you to keep that,
So would my mom.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Do you wanna come up, Ben? I'm not exactly sure what are we hearing from him, or are we?
We are, come on up, Ben.
Kudos
Yeah.
to him and his team for a
Amazing.
really, really amazing season.
Yeah.
So I guess I can say I invited my team, but the dedicated players there are, they're already in other seasons, whether it's in soccer or other sports. So.
Well, we appreciate you showing up. And you wanna tell us a little bit about the season? I know, we all should know, but.
It was an amazing season. We started off with high expectations, not as high necessarily as we achieved, but we brought the girls in early to set our season goals and they wanted to make it to that championship game. And we set some goals as far as what we were going to do to be able to do that. And they worked on those all season long and included things like leadership and character, as well as scoring goals and playing defense and all the things that go into the on the field stuff. And we had some great games early on, some tough games early on to get them ready for the season, including playing the team that we ended up beating at the state championship earlier, losing a tight game there. But we did well to be co-champions in the league. And then had a run straight to the championship title and into penalties. I got to watch with emotion as my daughter stood in front of that goal to try to get us into where we need to be, and she made the game-winning save, and it was amazing.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say. Congratulations. And please pass on our, real pride in what they've done for the school and what they've done for the program and you leading them. You had a couple of assistants or just one?
We brought in some assistants along the way, so we have our paid assistant.
Anybody else you wanna
Raphael
call out?
Weiss, right, who's been in the school district and in the soccer program for a lot of years. Obviously, it was a piece of that. Mike later volunteered his time this year to be part of the program. And we brought in a former player, Alyssa Shaw, came and helped us out when she could, juggling babies and stuff. She was able to come and help us when she could. And then at the end of the season, we brought in Bianca Delgado, who's an older sister of one of our players, can help work with the goalkeepers. Unfortunately, we broke her arm in the very first practice. But she stuck with us, and that was lots of help, lots of community members coming in and supporting to make it happen.
Cool. Anybody have questions or anything? Comments?
just stellar above and beyond dedication all around, from the parents to the students, the community, to you. I know how many long hours you put in, and we just appreciate you greatly.
And couldn't do it without the support of my family, including my wife, who
Yeah.
sometimes feels like she's a widow during this.
Well, thanks for making the time after the basketball game and good
Yeah.
luck. Go ahead, Deanne.
I would like to add, if you haven't noticed, there's a nice huge banner.
I saw the picture on the.
Yes,
Yeah.
stating that welcome to our girls state.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Pretty nice banner.
And I just want to share publicly, you know, what I've shared with you privately, Dan, that, you know, your focus with your kids on leadership and character and class was apparent and clear in every match that you played. And regardless of what happened, we could be prouder, you know, of the way you and your kids presented yourself at home and on the road. So you have made us really, really proud. So thanks for working on those intangibles along with the rest of the stuff. Congratulations on your basketball victory. Thanks for making time.
Alrighty, back to 5B, which we passed over with Linda being gone. Did you have anything you want to say on that? Or give some background on what that
No,
corporation
The
change is?
background is that I just messed up. I put 64,000 in the debt service, it was supposed to be 10, and the 54,000 was supposed to be under it. So on that spreadsheet, you can see it in color. And when I sent this off to the state, I have to send the budget, they caught it, and so it's a simple, just have them reapprove this and sign it for today's date. So that's all. The total amount didn't change at all. It's just the way I.
Where it's appropriated,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Alrighty, so, anybody, ready to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we approve the revised resolution number 12112023 budget appropriations as presented.
I second.
Is there any discussion?
I
Hearing none, we'll move
think
to a
that
vote.
answered my
Oh, sorry.
question as to how the original differed from the revision. It was just that one number.
Yeah.
Different category.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I should say, I will probably come to you again. Now that we've dug deeper into GASB 96 and we know how they want us to report that, I maybe still didn't put enough in debt service. So I may need to move some around
Okay.
before the end of the year, but we're gonna see how many more spinners do we get. Spinners. It does with quit getting new curriculum. Licensed software, I wouldn't have to worry.
We're gonna go back to the abacus and
Yeah.
just call the computer. Use
So
the-
I think there'll be enough technology to just make sure that I'm like.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on the motion before us? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Richard, but.
Alrighty, looks like 5F. Approved student investment account grant agreement?
Yes.
Alrighty.
All right, well, every year we do we get our grant agreements from all our major grants, including the SIA Student Investment Account, the High School Success Grant, and the Early Indicator and Intervention System Grant. The Student Investment Account grant needs to go before the board before we can sign them and submit them to ODE and get those funds released. And so we are coming today to present those to you. Part of the presentation is that we go over our numbers that are now part of our integrated plan. And since we did talk about those on the November 17th board meeting. We have met that requirement already, but Bill and I have a plan for a future board meeting to bring those numbers back to the table and kind of tell you where we're at in terms of our progress towards them. But we just barely got our detail sheet, so we want to give ourselves a little bit of time to crunch those numbers and get back to you with those. So with that, we ask for your approval of those grant agreements so that we can move forward and get those funds flowing this way.
So do you want a motion?
Actually, any questions?
Yeah, any questions
Does
or?
anybody have any questions for?
You said you will get back to us with the details.
The details on the data component that is part of the student investment account and the integrated plan that we approved last summer or last spring. Yeah, so that's where the details come in. We just want to be able to give you guys a deeper dive into the data that is part of that grant.
We presented the report card data last week, and usually when the report cards come out, there's some backup to that are called detail sheets. And they weren't released yet when we put the report cards out, so we just got those within a week, so we'll have a chance to look at those more closely and talk about how those line up with the growth targets that we.
And that's the charts and all those lines that I.
That's correct, yeah, that
didn't
data.
Study quite sufficiently, but. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna explain to us what's in the detail sheets, because I was looking at them today and I was like, I don't know how to
It's
remember this.
it's kind of complicated. And what we noticed is in the graphs that ODE gave us that I've attached at the bottom of this memo, those give us what we projected and that you guys approved when we did the integrated plan, but doesn't tell us where we're currently at in terms of we set a goal, are we on track to meet that goal? So that's what we want to be able to talk about at a future meeting.
And if you fail to meet the goal, the money is not available?
That's a great question. I don't think that.
So we ask that pretty regularly.
Yes.
We're rolling out this integrated plan and, you know, they haven't got that quite sorted out yet in terms of that.
So that's not likely.
That's not likely, no.
It's kind of like my father might have said, obey first and understand why later. But
I think they just want to make sure that we're being data driven, you know, and that we're monitoring, you know, with our data.
And that we're using the decisions we make to try to improve those numbers, right? So. Any other questions?
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the Student Success Act Student Investment Account Grant as proposed.
I'll second.
Have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
All right,
Great.
thank you.
Thank
Those
you.
submitted.
Everybody does a great job keeping us organized and like sports. You know, we had the integrated plan, but then they still have to keep up with all the statutory requirements of all the different pieces of that plan. So it's a gift that keeps on giving.
All right, further on, board action, we have two policies, and a recommendation to adopt those policies. If you wanna give us a little background on those.
Yeah, absolutely. These are some policy updates that have come through, recommendations from OSBA in prior pieces. One of the, most of them are just catching us up to recent statutory changes. You know, so some of the updates just are about the ORSs that they're attached to and some newer language, not drastically new language in those, in these particular policies. We've had a public charter school policy. There were some slight changes in the law that in essence said that wants to clarify that a school district cannot open a charter school a brick and mortar charter school in another school district without the permission of the board of the school district. So if we wanted to open a charter school and the only building we had, was in St. Paul, we'd have to, in order to have that, we'd have to get permission from the school board in St. Paul to actually hold that charter school there. It further clarifies it's slightly different for a virtual charter school. If we wanted to open a virtual charter school in St. Paul, in a building in St. Paul, we would just have to give notice to their school board that we were going to be operating that virtual charter school in that district. So those are the changes or the clarifications that come through in LBE. And maybe I just take that one on and if you have any questions or you're welcome to adopt the policy tonight, or if you wanted to, take it for a first reading, that would be acceptable as well.
What's the likelihood that we would open a school, charter school?
Yeah, not.
What
Yeah.
defines a virtual charter school? Like so much of their classes online,
Yeah, the class is online, it's not in
like
person.
100%?
Yeah.
Nothing in person, okay.
That's close to a question I had, but my question is, has North Marion District ever had a charter school?
I don't think so. Yeah. For us, it's a little bit of, kind of safety that someone couldn't, isn't gonna come in and build a school in the North Marion School District and have students from our school district attending that school because it's next door to them, so it's, it's a safeguard against that.
And you mean a public school doesn't exclude private schools?
Right. The charter schools, exist all over, virtual charter schools exist all over the state, and we have kids attending, charter schools in Baker, what I mean, from all over the state, that. So there's not that kind of control over a virtual charter school.
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept or approve on first reading policy LBE.
A second.
Motion was second,
Was that?
The second is Jenny. On LBE, is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so LBE is first reading. That was the motion, so.
Yep.
And that was my clarification, were you moving to adopt
I was
policy?
moving to adopt.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want me to do a revote, Diane?
Let's do that, yeah.
No,
No?
you're good with that.
Okay. All right, the second policy is title program exemptions, updated to be title program exemptions. We have currently have policy that allows students to opt out of certain programs based on certain reasons and rationale. And our last policy was last adopted was last approved in 1994. So as you can imagine, in 30 years, there have been some slight changes, around aspects of thinking and reasons for which students may or may not opt out of a program or a curriculum or, part of a course or something like that. So the proposed policy updates our program exemption policy to accommodate those very reasons that a student and or parent might wish to have their child exempted from a course or program. I think the significant change in language from our prior policy, the prior policy indicated that, an alternative activity or program would be, could be provided. This, language suggests that the parents or the family be involved in suggesting what those alternatives, might be to the program. We've had a chance to talk a little bit about that, with board leadership, and my sense is that this creates a little more collaborative conversation between a teacher and a parent, about why their student, why they may want their student exempted, from a course or a program or a part of a curriculum. If you were telling me, if you'd have to know really what the standards were, that we were trying to accomplish, with an alternative assignment or with an alternative program in order to actually formulate your request. And it just creates a little stronger collaboration or conversation between the school and the family about kind of what the issues might be around the reason for exemption and what actually might be a reasonable alternative program. Again, it could be a program like a PE course or something like that. It could be, just a novel, a particular novel in a classroom, and so there are various ranges of opt-out. We've always had an opt-out policy around our health curriculum, and even sexuality curriculum, based on certain reasons that family might not want their student to participate in that. We've always had this notion, and this just kind of brought that out a little bit.
I'll make a motion that we adopt policy IGB HD as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that motion?
I just have a question about it, just to make sure that I understand this clearly. So the policy would state that families can opt out of an assignment or class. They must provide a reason, but ultimately the decision is up to the teachers or principal to say, yes, your student can be out of this, or no, this isn't really something that would be approved.
Yeah, they have to have some reasons religious or, some others come into play on those rationale and reasons why they would not participate in the state approved or adopted curriculum at school. But there are some, some might be medical, some might be, religious. And so, it's being clear about what that reason is and being able to have that conversation and collaboration, but then also being clear about what would be an acceptable alternative.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Well, off of that question, would you deny it? You wouldn't ever force the child to be in that class or in that, whatever that situation was.
We have to be having a conversation about the reason or the rationale. You wouldn't just say, I'm not going, I'm gonna opt out of this class. So there would have to be, some rationale or reason.
Does the parent always have the right to pull a child from a class? Or not?
That's a good
question?
perspective.
Yeah.
Cause
I'm not trying to be contrary, I'm just trying to be clear on this.
No, I don't actually read that in.
I don't see it in there, it's just
policy.
the way you explained, the way you explained it just now, I kind of wondered that.
I think it's kind of echoing what Bill said, though, in terms of like creating a working relationship with the teachers and the principals or counselors, whatever, to making sure that if I have a problem with something or a class that my kid is gonna be in, I can explain to them, like, I think this is just way over their head, or I'm not comfortable with the material, or, whatever, and then it's like, can we do something else instead? I think that's really what it is.
And it is a district, you know what I mean? It is a district call. We also know that we're also guided by, kind of religious and, and possibly cultural or medical, you know what I mean? Or guidelines along that as well.
But I think I do want to echo what Heidi was saying, is like, is there ever a time that it would be denied and what would happen? Like,
I mean, very likely, you can imagine.
Yeah.
You could, what reasons someone might, wanna write, but you know what I mean, we're kind of hoping or trusting you that if a family really is thinking about an opt-out, that they have a good solid rationale, that it's not just I didn't like the teacher, or I didn't like this, or something like that. You have to, you know what I mean, we have requirements, you know what I mean, in order to graduate, and attend school in Oregon.
So I think maybe what he's saying is to deny the parents their request would probably be far and few between and with good.
With good faith
Good faith
requests,
reason, yeah.
with
yeah.
good faith requests, and I don't, Des, would you agree?
Yeah, I think. For example, if someone's like, I just really would rather not have to take an English class in high school. And there's 4 years of required English classes. How to then solve that problem so you're still meeting the credit requirements versus. I think the piece of this policy that's effective is the conversation. Is it all of English or is it this book or this course of study? Can we find an alternative that is an online class or something else to make sure the requirement is met? So I think, yeah, I see them very few and far between, that the reason why would be so not within the scope of what we would want to consider, that you wouldn't, have that conversation.
You've been patient, Merle. What was your question?
I wanted to touch on what Bill and Heidi both mentioned. The best I understand it, from your explanation, I thought that sounds good. A motivation for parents and administration to work together and work through this, but the policy doesn't say that. It says it's up to the principal. And then it's also pretty subjective when you say other reasons acceptable to the district, and I somehow would like to see that more definitive language put in there. And I think it's important that parents have a significant say, and I know, and I think you're alluding to, well, some who are more unusual, out of the way, I don't know what term to use for sure, but I think that's important, I wonder if we couldn't make that a little more clear. And the other factor here, I think, is that we should include a requirement to notify parents ahead of time on controversial subjects. And I think the district knows generally what those would be.
Don't we already have that?
Yeah, there are lots of different kinds of
We
policies.
do have a
different
policy
policies
about
that-
like,
Yeah.
certain
I
movies
think
that are
there,
rated and
yeah,
all
I
that.
think there are a couple of things at play here. You probably can't over define it, so you know what I mean, so in a policy has purposely got a little bit of room in it. So trying to over define or over prescribe just means you're probably gonna have to go back and update your policy again. Probably sooner than you want to along those lines. And those are some of the differences in this policy and, and the former policy, because it kind of listed, which reasons could be exempted for, but didn't leave any other room in there. So that, that's a shift in this policy, is understanding that there are, there's some movement in that. It also allows, because it describes a district, it also allows a little bit of local flexibility. Because it's talking about the district, it's not a state, there's not a state reason or rationale given to it, so.
I will echo it, and you and I spoke extensively about this. I agree that I would really like to see it called out. Collaboration with the parents would be a step in it. I don't know if it necessarily belongs on this policy or the AR policy that would show the collaboration between parents, but that's really the link that gives me a little heartburn.
Any other discussion on the motion?
I'm curious, do you know if any ARs exist, like if OSBA has a sample AR for this?
I do not know if they have a sample AR for this. You know, there's some evolving aspects of some of this work that they could be working, but we definitely
I'm interested in that.
could frame a little bit along with it.
I think it's true, as far as I know, that these policies are presented to us by OSBA as recommendations. And we would be free to alter them before they are approved, if we so would choose to do so.
You
So,
could.
can I-
And, you know what I mean, and, they also have been, scrubbed by the legal teams, you know, in terms of the statutes and those types of things. So you wouldn't change it without having to take it back to your legal team and make sure that you weren't out of statute with some of your, if you had new language.
So can I amend my motion to be first reading without adoption, so that maybe we can have a work session on that? But did you second me?
Yeah, I guess I did. Yeah,
Do you agree to that, Amanda?
I'll second that.
Okay, so the amended motion is
The first reading.
a first reading of IGBHD rather than an adoption.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries.
5H, we have an out-of-state extended field trip for FFA, it's a FFA membership to the World Ag Expo in Tulare, California, February 14th through the 17th of 2024. This requires us an approval from us because
Because it is out of state and it is, it's an extended stay, so. I would entertain a motion on that.
I have a question about that. It says that she's the only one that's going to chaperone with 8 students. And she's gonna drive.
Yes. Yes. They are gonna be stopping at 2 colleges that focus in ag on their way down and back. And, they will rent a van large enough to take the 8 in one trip.
Okay. And then how is the overnights? Because aren't there mixed boys and girls?
Most of them are girls right now. They're filling out the applications. As of right now, I've had 2 girls approve it, was approved by me with their application. And then, so the number of kids going has not been finalized. Maximum of 8.
So
But if it is a co-ed, then I will request another chaperone.
But we don't require two chaperones or 2 supervising people on
Not for
every
that
trip?
number of kids.
Really?
And not for mixed genders, like boys, girls?
If it's overnight, I would ask for 2. But right now, there's only 2 girls that have been approved.
Well, that was my thought reading this, is it just would seem wise to have 2 going. I was assuming 8 total, but just thinking of driving and car trouble or any potential along the way, that woe to him that's alone when he falls, for he doesn't have another to help him, so.
I've been more than happy to take it back and request 2 chaperones. Depending on.
Yeah. I mean, I will tell you, I would be hard pressed to send one person alone to California with 8 students.
Gotcha.
Even that time of year, like, I feel like traveling from here to there in any kind of vehicle over the passes, I don't know.
I will take it back. And request 2.
Do we have any, I'm just curious, is it like, is that in the handbook or anything? I'm just, like, ratios or how many chaperones you need for an activity overnight?
My number usually is 15 and then you need 2, anything above 15. If it's co-ed, then there is 2.
Okay, so I'm hearing a tabling. Okay, the January meeting, will that give you enough time?
Is it, is it possible to amend, providing that there are 2 chaperones?
I'm open to that.
It-
So far, I don't have a motion yet.
Is that,
Guaranteed, you're able to.
okay?
Well,
And then we're.
Why not?
Okay, so, yeah, and, we have the scholarship situation at the high school regarding fees, equity lines has been addressed.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I will make a motion to approve the FFA, right? FFA, sorry, I missed my spot. Pending 2 chaperones are attending. If it's a mixed gender, there'll be one of each gender represented.
Correct.
A second.
Have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries. Number 6. Superintendent district operations report.
Just been dying again. So, let's see, who's driving my,
Nothing. So many times.
there's one in mind. The presentation, yeah,
I was like,
it's not on that one.
do you want me to forward this to you? Do you want me to? I have a slideshow.
Greg has to give somebody else permission to share. Okay.
I do, do you want me to forward this to you?
I got it.
You got it?
You're sending it to me. Good.
I see your work, Bill.
What did you say?
This?
Yeah.
I agree.
You gotta have. I haven't eaten one.
I haven't tasted it yet.
You have it? Oh, I just did one of these.
Can you, grab that? Oh, no.
I'll take it home.
So while we're waiting, if everyone can, remember what the district mission statement is. Because that's the lead.
We can recite it together.
Can you?
Because I can read it right here.
Wait,
is this test? North Marion, learning together to cultivate lifelong growth.
There you go. Yeah. They're the right screen.
Got it?
Oh, yeah. I know that's great. That's good.
I'm gonna have to detox off sugar after the holidays.
All right, thanks you guys for navigating over there. So again, just important for us not to, not to lead into my report without taking an opportunity to remember the mission that we're on and try to update that. They look like they're happy and smiling right now, the kindergarten team and support staff at the primary school, but they were working hard on, and the grade level teams had some opportunities to get together, you know, with Kimberly, to really dig into some of their data, some of their work, and really think about what kinds of support kids might need. So, some nice work going there and really clearly learning together and thinking about the growth of students along those lines. That vision that we have and some of these things you've heard about of our communities then being engaged and unified around the work of our children and the performances of our children, the support for our children. You know, I thought those visions of those photos of our choirs and bands that hovered during the lighting ceremony, I understand it was a very well attended event and that our kids were really having a great time. I think I talked to John Haddon, the choir director. He said there were even some graduates out there that that came up and sang with them to make that a great event. So they really appreciate it. What's that?
Over 300.
Over
attendees.
300.
Really?
Yeah, they were shocked. I was like, wow, there is a lot of 300.
So fantastic, and like I said, great job of our leaders creating those opportunities for kids to be out there, and our directors. You know, as mentioned, the Learning Summit was just another beautiful example of our learning community and our opportunities. You've got staff here learning together. These are photos of staff presenting, actually the top right is then a follow-up with our mathematics team, working with some in our mathematics professional development sessions. So I think, I can't emphasize enough the opportunities that our teachers are having to work together, to learn together, to be together. And learn from others or others, connected to or outside the community. It's that shift back, from where we've been when we were told we can't be in the same room together. And it's really nice to see a K-12 opportunities in those types of sessions. I mean, all of the photos here are K-12, and in the Learning Summit, we saw staff from all parts of our nutrition services staff, our classified staff, secretaries and others, delivering and taking classes. Linda's class was a highlight, how to read your paycheck. So just really nice opportunities for us to be together in ways that we haven't for a while. Again, some opportunities to think about some community involvement. Stacy talked about how packed that middle school gym was. I mean, that place was just packed last Tuesday night. And Richard, got me all hooked up to go to the Aurora City Council meeting a couple of weeks ago and brag about schools a bit. So that was a nice opportunity to just get out amongst the community in a different environment. Some of you are aware of, you see the screenshot there. I was just noticing too, Cheryl, that your name and my name are the only ones that, that have our names on there, not our photos. But it's because we're attending in person at the Lutheran Church over in Aurora, while others are zooming in. So it's a hybrid type of an opportunity. But the North Marion service integration team that takes the opportunity. Actually, one of our intermediate school counselors was presenting at this particular meeting. engaging the team and getting some support for families that needed some support at that time. So just a really nice group, getting together there. And don't go too fast, because during the Learning Summit, there was some amazing pies being served, for staff who were participating from our PTO. And they have just been, a great presence and fantastically supportive. So there's some great opportunities to see the vision, in action. Another piece I wanted to talk about is, again, Dr. Erickson's work at the middle school to kind of keep these continuing listening sessions, and I call them listening sessions. What's your?
We just call them, our community series.
Yeah, that's a community series, and Stacy was really clear to say it's it's not just listening, we're collaborating, we're engaging together with parents when we have these sessions. And they started with a section on bullying and harassment. They've had follow-up sessions around drug and alcohol, one around awareness, one around support and resources that might be available for families and children. In January 25th, I think you said, kind of social media and the impact of social media is the topic. And, in essence, certainly something that we've been thinking a lot about lately. And we know that this kind of started as a notion of thinking about the impact on our kids and social media. I think, we're all experiencing the impact of social media right now. And so even in our community, the adult community is what our kids are looking at. And I think there's a larger conversation for us to have, in our communities about the impact of social media. And so, some tools that were designed, in essence, to help us connect and build community and some of those kinds of things. We're seeing them actually hurt some people, be used to hurt, just, and that's what we're trying to work with children on. But I think, again, there's probably a broader conversation for us to have, as a community about the impact of social media and what it is and what it isn't. So I didn't want to leave tonight without kind of saying that, we've got, this building community, and not kind of dividing ourselves, is heavily impacted by social media, because that's a place where people are connecting. And I think it's just really important for us to think about what strategies and tools we have to take care of each other, who may also be hurt or harmed, through what social media can communicate.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there a flyer for these?
Yeah, we usually post it digitally, and they're on the district calendar, and usually the flyer is with that one, but we also put it out through, our Parent Square, and then, I usually have someone in the PTO put it on the Facebook pages that would be particularly PTO one, and then the parents of the North Marion. And so, but all are invited. We had childcare last time, and we had some children come at the end of the high school. You guys sent some kids over to help babysit, and then we also have interpreter services available. And we recorded last time. We haven't posted it yet because I just needed approval from the place who spoke.
Yeah.
So we're kind of working on those pieces that were great suggestions from parents that had come or had emailed.
The only reason why I asked was if I could print one off. We do have a community bulletin board in Hubbard. Not sure it'll get a lot
I'd be
of,
happy to send one. I'd be happy to
yeah,
send
not sure if it'll get a lot of traction, but at least it'll be there. And if I can get a bilingual copy, that'd be great.
we do
Tuck
it
it up there.
bilingual, so I will send it up.
Awesome. Thanks.
Just to piggyback on that thought, we have, the auto dialer that tells us when the ELL migrant meetings are. It would be great to put that on the auto dialer.
honestly.
I sent it out your parents' group. I'll check into the auto dial part.
I wonder if it only goes middle school right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good ideas, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good ideas all, thank you.
I think anything that we could do to get community aware, make them aware. Of course, I'm go back so many years, I remember when we got something in the mail. Okay, a piece of paper, and I don't know if that's still effective or not, but
I think it would be as somebody who's not on social media. I mean, that's how I get my information.
the social media.
Yeah, I don't have any.
And it can happen occasionally. It's increasingly cost and labor prohibitive to, you know, to spend a lot of, you know.
Probably email him.
Yeah.
That's the sweet.
If you've ever been in the office with someone that's stuffing envelopes, you know, you need to pay for everything.
Right.
Used to go on backpacks. I would always go through my kids' backpacks every day.
Well, to be honest, I had only sent it to North, Middle School, Parent Square, so if we could go broader than that, I can work with my partners to see about that.
Awesome, thank you so
Awesome,
much.
thanks. And then maybe just a couple things, kind of staying on top of, we have a short session at the legislature, this year. And I think February 5th is the day that it starts. It can only last 35 days max. And, you know, fortunately, there are limits on the number of bills that can be introduced during that time. There's also much stricter limits on the time, you know, to move through a bill for discussion and those types of things. So they call it kind of a sprint session, you know, so things that would take a lot of time to process, you know, they don't get finished, so they have a tendency to not get introduced during that time. So it's oftentimes a lot of time to come back and revise things in the last session that have come through and maybe had some unintended consequences or looked at things like that. So sometimes there's opportunities to do some revision of some of the bills that came through the last session. You know, we also know that there are priorities, you know, that come from the governor, and childcare, housing, mental health, addiction, some of those things that you mentioned as priorities for communities will also be prioritized by the governor and some legislators. So it'll, you know, it's something to look at in terms of the kinds of priorities that bills get. At the law conference, it was in essence shared with us that there probably won't be a lot, you know, of impact on education bills. So hoping that there might be a little bit, you know what I mean, that we can gain, and I'll share that in a minute. It's also noted, and we've talked about that before, that there are a lot of new legislators. There was a lot of turnover in terms of legislators. They mentioned some are running for statewide office, and there's elections in November, so sometimes during those times, there's a little reluctance, you know, to move big ideas forward, because people are nearing elections. We know that some of the things that our administrators association will be trying to recapture are some of the funding for early literacy, some of the funding for inclusive services and summer learning funding that were funded at higher levels prior. Some of those took some cuts in this last budget session. And so our lobbyists will be trying to get some of those funds back to where they were, back to the service level that they were at before the budget finally got finished last year. There's also going to be some opportunity to try to have some positive influence on some of the special education law, particularly Senate Bill 819, which we know has created quite a burden on staff, families in many cases, and, you know, impacted students as well. And to try to kind of evaluate based on where we are right now, the impact that it's having on districts and what might be able to be done to scale back what's being required of districts as a result of that right now. So those are, you know, those are some of the things we'll be looking for, and, you know, trying to make some whatever small gains or adjustments that we can make in as we head into this short session in February. So that is that. a nice, nice report, had a chance to hear, I don't know if you heard, but, Guadalupe, Guerrera, the Portland Public Schools Superintendent resigned, this morning.
I heard that. What was it, 2 months from now or?
Yeah, mid-February. Mid-February. So, it's an environment that's hard on superintendents right now. But,
A huge system.
yeah. So,
Do you have anything, any comments on OSBA, where we're at, or, have you heard anything? Maybe you can include that in a brief
yeah,
later
yeah,
on.
I talked to a few of the folks that we work with, at OSBA, and I think they're just in a little bit of a kind of regrouping pattern right now in terms of, how they're thinking about moving things forward, so. There's not a lot of talk going on from some of our policy service people and others that we talked about, that I talked to at the law conference. So I think there's definitely film at 11 as they kind of regroup and move forward.
All right, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a good question. Most of you, are you aware that the executive director of
We
OSBA?
received some of
Yeah.
the correspondence. Because I don't know details, I don't know that anyone does, I just sent back a short note and said, it sounds to me like
Yeah.
we won't move ahead until a crisis has been reached and passed.
Well,
We'll see.
I think some of the dynamics is that they recently had a new deputy director who's now the interim.
Right.
Was a person, I think, was from out of state, she ran College Possible. That's right, ran College Possible. And, not necessarily as connected, to.
I thought too, that was a
Yeah.
little unusual, but the
So,
board must have felt it was prudent.
so,
Or the executive of the board, maybe, not full.
so we'll keep you updated as we, as we learn, and you get the updates as well. from OSP.
All righty,
Thanks.
anybody else have any other business that needs to come before us? We are not having a work session tonight, so I will gavel us down, 7:49. Thanks for coming and much appreciated.
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.